So I'll begin with the first case. An 18-year-old male gave the history presented to our OPD saying he has poor development of secondary sexual characteristics. Now, on further asking on history, he had morning erections. He said he had developed pubic hair and he had had a voice change. He gave a normal birth history and he was doing well in school.
Okay, just hold on there. So this case is quite different from what Sayan presented. The main thing that you hear is that he is having a normal development to begin with. So this is a very important point. So whenever you look at it, there is a history of pubic hair development, which may be because of edinarchy, but there is a voice change. So when does voice change happen? At what stage of puberty?
Around TB 10 to 12, 15 ml, 15 ml.
So it means when your testosterone is probably somewhere around 150 and 200. Try to build up an idea as to at what stage what testosterone levels are. So voice change is pretty late phenomena. Only phenomena after that is spermarchy. And spermarchy is like menarche. So when you have spermarchy, you mean that you reached that maturity. So this will be like 15 ml. 15 ml would mean 150, 200 roughly testosterone. So that means he reached that level. With adrenals, you're never going to reach that level. Why? How do you say so?
They are not potent enough.
Yes, so once adrenals will produce till the same extent as they produce in girls. So in that sense, how will you have that high level? You will reach up to 20, 30, not more than that. If you are reaching 150, it means there has to be a testicular component. So now the very fact that he had a voice change clearly tells me that this is a case of stalled puberty. This is not a case of CDGP out. As I've discussed about all those things that may go off and on, that is there. But from a textbook description, this is not CDGP right away in that situation.
So on asking, he gave no. Basically, on asking, we want to rule out other things. So no anosmia, hearing difficulty to rule out any congenital hypo, headache, diplopia, seizures to rule out any ICSO, galactorrhea because they're thinking acquired cause to rule out hyperprolactinemia, head injury, injury to groin to rule out any hypo, and fever, as we discussed, painful swelling near the eye of angular mount or any testicular pain. Infertility or delayed puberty in the family to rule out any familial cause such as androgen AIS or anything that we can think of that. Now, very important is prior testosterone therapy. Was any therapy given which caused the pubic hair development? That was not.
That's a very relevant question because a lot of these patients, they come to us, they've already been given some oral medicine, some injection, some tablet which may cause the pubic hair development. So then all our algorithm will go off because they are based upon clinical findings. So if there has been a prior exposure, that becomes relevant from that.
Curling of pubic hair significant.
So curling of pubic hair basically happens when you have a HCG effect. So if you have a hypogonadotropic hypogonadism, if you give testosterone, you will just have straight pubic hair growth. But if you give HCG injection or a LH injection, then the curling will happen. So just with testo, you will not have a curling of hair, which will happen. That is a point which is there. So now, before you go ahead, what are the most important things that come to your mind in somebody who comes to you with stalled puberty?
So stalled puberty, first of all, I would like to initially rule out any ICSL.
Second,
hyperprolactinemia.
Yes. Third,
Klinefelter syndrome.
These three will be the top three things that you have to look at. So you've worked out quite well in that perspective, particularly for galactorrhea. Now, how common is galactorrhea in boys? I am not. So it's not. Because why?
Because they don't have the glandular tissue in the breast.
Yes. So basically, when you talk about the overall breast development, what is the role of estrogen and what is the role of progesterone?
So estrogen is responsible for increasing size of breast and increasing the glandular tissue, and progesterone is the final formation of the breast tissue and pruning of the.
So, like in uterus, what estrogen does, it's like a proliferator. It will continue to grow endometrium. Progesterone is more like when you talk about a gardener, he's cutting those things and making it more the shape of the uterus, not having excessive, so excessive endometrium is shed. It's like a sculptor. Same with breast. So estrogen will cause the growth overall. The terminal growth is basically done by the progesterone. So galactorrhea is very unusual in boys. It may happen, but very, very unusual. The major presentation is with hypogonadism in that sense. Or head injury to point, these all things they already asked about, and prior therapy becomes important. Why have you asked about bloody stools?
So I just want to rule out any, basically any chronic diseases like any IBD or rheumatoid arthritis. Just to rule out, basically it can be a chronic disease which might cause short puberty.
Okay, so it has to be acquired one.
Yeah. Now, to rule the final complete our history, we should have asked whether there is a history of mother's delayed menarche or father's delayed shaving, but they were not available. They were not coming with that. So on examination, he had a strabismus which gave us a clue, but then no midline defects, no gynecomastia, no nystagmus or sympkinesia.
What is sympkinesia?
So basically, it's a mirror movement. So if you ask the child to do one type of movement, clicking of hands, he will follow the same movements in the hands.
What does it signify?
It signifies a defect in the tract formation, sir, in the bilateral.
It's usually commonly seen with hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism. So all these features that you're mentioning are basically part of that hypo picture. Now, what is the clinical presentation of Calvin defect?
First of all, this will be hypo and anosmia.
Yes.
And he will be unicoidal, long limbs, long legs, and body proportion will be there. And
gynecomastia?
Gynecomastia can be there, but rare. I mean, less often.
And the other thing to remember now is that when we were discussing about pituitary, I mentioned that now many of these defects which were considered to be isolated are part of multiple pituitary hormone defects. So, like Calvin is now known as an important cause of MPHD also. So, this is like a whole spectrum which is coming up. Otherwise, Calvin is typically the one which is there for migration of the gainarish neurons from
the olfactory plateau to the hypothalamus.
From the olfactory plateau to which part of hypothalamus?
Acute nucleus.
Acute nucleus. So there's a migrational defect, but they also play a role otherwise. So all that sympkinesia are part of that neuronal circuitry which is not developing in that. So that's an important point that you have to look at. What does squint mean?
Strabismus per se can be a defect of the 346 nerves which can be involved.
This is also we have seen in part of this Calvin or the hypo, they tend to have the typical facial features, and this may be part of that as well. But we have to always think of an exon in this setting. So this is an acquired pubertal stalled puberty with strabismus. That's a red flag. Next.
So coming to So now coming to anthropometric, his height is 1 foot 156 centimeters, which is minus 2.24. But as I mentioned here, we don't know the corrected height as case. So whether is this short or not, we cannot tell because parents haven't come.
Father is not there.
Father is not there. He had come someone. Genital examination showed that he had testicular volume of 6 ml bilateral. It was soft. Important thing was that P3, that pubic hair staging was there, pubic hair was there. His SPL was 7 centimeters, which is less than 2.5 standard deviations, and no ambiguity. So we have a child who has soft testis. He has entered puberty, but it is stalled. But again, contradicting that is the SPL is less than 2.5 centimeters.
So basically, what it means is that now there are 3 things. We have been talking about pubic hair, we discussed a lot. Now we discuss about testicular appearance and how it helps you differentiate the diagnosis of CDGP versus hypo versus hyper. So the fact it is 6 ml, it excludes which condition?
Congenital hypoallergenia.
So Calvin is out. It cannot be Calvin syndrome. The typical presentation is 1 ml test is very, very soft. That's out. The fact that it is soft rules out which condition?
Hypergamy.
So Klinefelter become very unlikely. In Klinefelter, your testicular volume will go up to 10 ml, but then they tend to become shorty and they will be very, very hard. So that becomes unlikely. Can it be CDGP?
So,
so it's unlikely. The only thing is that, okay, now he has entered into puberty and maybe over time he started developing pubic hair, but that discrepancy is there. So if you just look at these 2 things, testis and pubic hair, you're pretty much clear that this is most likely a acquired hypogonadotrophic hypogonadism. This is what it looks like. Now, SPL7 goes against Calvin syndrome. So I think these all things are very, very simple. If you just look at it, mostly you will leave the diagnosis by this time. You go ahead.
System examination to look for cardiac evaluation was normal. So the key points in this case, First of all, we have a pubertal onset which has not required any outside injection. So it's gone into pubertal, and his onset of illness has also started after pubertal onset. Second thing is pubic hair is present. And third is he has a testicular volume more than the pubertal onset volume, and it is soft. So, and of course, he has a micropenis.
When you say micropenis, again, I would say that because he has not had the exposure now, so if your penile size is that much, that micropenis main context that we're talking about is mainly in terms of congenital causes. They are gone. So now, of course, if you don't have a testosterone exposure, that will not be that increased. But don't consider it to be a micropenis now at this age. Which means there is a recent hypogonadism.
So we are in somewhat of a dilemma, but as we discussed, it is more towards acquired. How? Because he has pubic hair, he has pubertal onset, and micropenis. But the only thing is the height, which is a concern, which is less than 2 lgs. Of course, we don't know the parental height. So these are the pointers towards acquired and versus CTGP.
So which investigation will be the most important at this point of time? Simple investigation.
LH.
Before that, X-ray.
Oh yes.
So if it is CDGP, your bone age will be delayed. And he's 18 years. So CDGP anyway becomes very, very less likely. So if you look at bone age and bone age is already fused or something like that, then CDGP goes out of the picture. So then anyway, based upon what we discussed, it looks like acquired hypohypo.
Okay, so now we investigated this child. So now what we found is that the bone age was 15, but that's what we discussed. Basically, the bones are fused, so we don't know he's 15, 16 or 17.
So it's fused basically.
Initial screening investigation was normal. So what came was that the LH was 2.59, FSH was 1.92, and the testo was 0.66.
So how do you interpret this, Narayanan? Testo normal is around 66 nanograms.
66 nanograms per year.
So that is, and range would be like 200 would be the male, adult male range. So testo is low, but what do you think about LH?
LH is normal.
Is normal. So LH is normal with a low testo. So there are again two possibilities which are there. Either he is CDGP who is now progressing and is entering into that, but at 18 it becomes less likely, or he has an acquired hypo because of which he has testosterone deficiency. He is not completely gone. He has some production of LH and FSH there, but this is typical of the acquired. Like when you say TSH is detectable, TSH is in fact less than 20 with a low FT4, you call it central hypothyroidism. Similarly, if the LH is not high with a low testo, it could be a central hypogonadism. That's what it is looking like. And prolactin is normal, PTGJ is normal. Yeah. So definitely MRI becomes extremely important in this setting.
So we did get an MRI done. Initially, the images were a bit, we were doubtful whether it has anything, but it was reported as normal by the radiologist.
Okay. You don't have the images?
Images are, but it was reported as normal. So now again, we come to the question, is it congenital? It's congenital, it's not congenital, acquired anorexia. So it is definitely not congenital, and CDGP, almost all the factors are against CDGP. So we can, I guess, conclusively say it is some cause of an acquired hypogonadotrophism.
Yeah, many of these causes like autoimmune causes and all those things we don't really know. So we have to look at very carefully for the stock thickening and how it goes. The anti-inflammatory functions may be down. Now, whether he could have growth hormone deficiencies along with that, do you think? See, his bones were fused, which means that he had enough testosterone to push his bone to fusion. Bones are not going to fuse immediately. They fuse once your pubic hair, like you are in Tanner staging 5 or something, your bones are fusing. So he had good enough amount of that. So our major concern was to exclude Klinefelters, that is gone. So it's an acquired hypo. We have to be careful in terms of neurological features which will develop in that.